What component of the application process is the most important? Hey guys, this is Kyle at ProjectionHub, and in today's video, myself and the founder and owner of ProjectionHub, Adam Huxema, we're going to answer kind of a hot SBA question. So we are going to break down of the different components of if you're trying to apply for an SBA loan, whether you're a startup or an existing business or an acquisition, what component of the application process is the most important? What holds the most weight with the lender when they're reviewing an application and kind of taking it all in and making a decision about your application? How would we rank those in order of importance and what things you need to focus on and work on? So if at any point you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel to get more content like this. And if you have any questions at any point during the video or after the video, you can leave a comment down below or contact us directly at support@projectionhub.com. And without further ado, enjoy the video. First question, come out of the gate. We're going to put Adam on the spot, and I'll give my 2 cents on these two as well. So it won't just be you. Maybe we'll get into an argument or something over some of these details. First question, if you had to rank following items based on their importance for an SBA application, how would you and why? And those things are a business plan / concept. You could probably throw in like the idea. So let's assume it's a good business plan. The financial projections, financial assumptions, they've got a good set of projections, right? So let's just assume all of these details, they're not lacking in it. They've at least prepared them, which a lot of people, that's uncommon, right? It's usually they're just like flat out missing one of these things. So that's the second one. Third one is the owner's experience in their background or skill set. And then the last one is the applicant's personal financial creditworthiness situation. So those are kind of the 4 buckets here. How would you rank those in their importance? Probably from an SBA lender's perspective on how they're weighting those things.
And are we thinking this is for a startup or an acquisition, or it could be, I may have different answers for different scenarios. I don't know. Maybe I won't.
Maybe rank them for a startup first. And then as you're walking through why you put them where you did, you might swap them, if it's acquisition or expansion.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about startup. So for a startup, I definitely think it's the personal financial situation is going to be your top of importance. And I think the reason for that is, if you've got an 800 credit score and you've got a house with a whole bunch of equity that you're willing to pledge as collateral, and you've got a bunch of outside income and your finances are all taken care of, then you make it really easy on the lender to say, okay, well, it's a startup. Yeah, it's a little risky, but we'll base this on your personal financial situation. So that's my take for number 1 on a startup. I think I'd probably put number 2, I'm kind of lumping business plan and experience together here, because I think business plan is where you talk about your experience and you make your case for your experience. And a lot of times folks don't have specific experience in like every single aspect of the business they're starting. And so they've got to like make a case in the business plan that says like, hey, I don't have experience right here, but like I've got a partner, or I'm hiring this firm to help me fill this gap. So I think that's the importance of the business plan. I think from an SBA lender's perspective is showing that you have the experience and team to do it is probably more important than like, this is my specific marketing plan. I'm not so sure the SBA cares as much about that. Then I guess I'm putting projections last.
Oh my gosh.
We're Projection Hub. Like
newsflash. The thing that we offer to people is the least important part of an SBA application.
Yeah. But I would say it's a necessary thing. You got to do it and it's got to make sense. But if it's a startup, you are just putting together, hopefully, some educated guesses. That's why I put personal financial situation as most important, because I don't think any lender out there is really taking startup projections to heart. Like they're not like, we're just going to make this loan purely because these projections are really good.
Yeah.
And we believe them. They're assuming they're going to be wrong. They don't know which direction. And so they got to rely on your personal financial situation as backup. What do you think?
Now, remind the audience here, Adam has far more SBA lending experience than I do. So I'm not sure my opinion matters all that much when it comes to ranking those. So if you're out there and you're considering starting your business with an SBA loan, take Adam's advice first. Actually, probably the right advice is all these things matter. Like at the end of the day, the application, like they are taking a look at all of these things, or globally, as lenders like to say, right? Like they're kind of looking at all of it. I'm going to set some context and say like maybe personal credit situation is just like average. Like they're not a high wealth individual or like whatever, something like where the bank's just going to say, tell us what you want and we're just going to make the loan. They've got some savings and let's say they've got a solid credit score. Let's say they've got a 700 credit score, or, it's not a deal breaker, but it's also not the thing that's going to guarantee it. Yes. I think I would agree with you that that the personal financial credit, no matter which way you slice it, is going to be the most important thing. Probably because it's the one thing that is like a hard deal breaker if it's not good enough. I'm sorry for people listening to this. Like if you're in a tough credit situation or you haven't saved enough money or something like that, but those things can always be changed. I think that's the upside when you're talking about that is if you're not in an ideal personal credit situation, that can be improved. So I think that's at least worth stating. If you can't start today, maybe in 18 months, change that. So I'd say that's probably the most important thing because that can just kill the application right there. Second, I'm going to say, well, you're lumping together owner experience and business plan, right? I was going to say probably owner experience second, just kind of going back to when, I was a lender in my shoes. It's like if the person had come from doing something similar and then like wanted to start that was like something we got excited about. It was like, oh, this person managed an auto repair shop for 12 years and now they finally want to do it on their own. It was like, I was excited about trying to pull as many levers as we could to like make it happen. You were willing to, I think, to be more flexible or accommodating in other ways if like they really knew what they were doing, especially if they had like clients who might follow them or something like that, I think is an icing on the cake there versus someone's like, you and I did enough bad deals when someone didn't have experience and then we made a loan and then it was like, they did not know what they were getting themselves into. And they threw in the towel in 12 months or something like that, or it costed way more than they expected. So
yeah, I think on experience, one thing that I would just, and I don't even really know the answer to this, but like what experience is it that's the most important? So if you're starting a restaurant, is the experience that you can cook the most important? Or is it that you know how to operate a restaurant? Or is it how to manage people? Or like,
right.
I think because, it's unlikely that you have someone who's got experience in every single aspect of what it's going to take to operate a business. Yeah. So sometimes I think this person has some good experience, but I'm afraid they're not going to be able to sell, maybe. And like sales is pretty important, so.
That's important. And I would say to round out my ranking, I would put projections above business plan probably, because I think you've helped me see the light on that a little bit. It's like if the numbers don't work, primarily if you need a loan, like if you're applying for an SBA loan and the numbers cannot work to like get you what you need to start it, then it's like the business plan doesn't really matter, right? If you're like, I need minimum $300,000 to start this business because of the required equipment or something like that, and you only have $10,000 to invest, it's like right there, you're kind of kneecapped. You can't even get to the amount that you would need. So, I mean, I guess maybe that's a personal financial issue more than a financial projection issue, because we can make the numbers, I guess, say whatever we want them to say. But yeah, I guess that's kind of like when we are helping a client, we start with projections, I think, first, because that's probably going to reveal some things that the applicant or the client doesn't even know about their plan that might make them rethink it altogether. But then when that looks good, it's like, all right, let's go ahead and finish up writing the rest of the business plan, because maybe they already know a lot of those details already. So
I would say this kind of gets into the difference between startup and existing business or acquisition. I think I would flip the importance of projections and business plan for an acquisition. So for an acquisition, I would say, actually, I might kind of almost flip the script all the way around. I don't know. Let's see. For an acquisition, there's already a business that's operating. It's already generating revenue and profit, hopefully. And so the way the lender is going to look at it is, does this existing business already cash flow this proposed loan? And, based on the projections, can it cash flow the proposed loan based on how it's already been operating over the last X amount of years? And so I almost tend to think projections might be maybe the most important of the listing there. And then a lot of times, if it's an existing business, you can get the experience, even if you don't have specific industry experience, like you're acquiring a business that probably has a team that's already operating the business. And so if you can make a good case in the business plan that, hey, we've got a team there, they know what they're doing. And then I think you actually have the personal financial situation is also less important, because the lender's not relying on your personal finances to repay the loan. They're relying on, hey, this business is already operating, been profitable, and it's working, and so it should repay the loan. It's the exact opposite. And maybe it's not really the projections per se. It's like the financial performance of the business is like what tell that in the projections.
Like for an acquisition, you're adding like a fifth element. You almost have to. It's like for a startup, the only financial trustworthiness, whatever, like the only track record you can look at is the personal one, because the rest of the stuff is all hypothetical. So for an acquisition or an existing business, you have to consider this fifth element. That's like there's a new entity. There is an existing business that has a track record, it has performance. That becomes the most important aspect. Like that doesn't replace one of the other 5, I think, but that just doesn't even exist for a startup. So it's not an option. But like the business plan is like probably least important, right? That's just like a formality for an acquisition. Like you just need to show that you've thought about some things. But
yeah, I mean, I think it may be a little, I give it more credit than just a formality. It's you're trying to demonstrate that you're not going to screw it up. Right?
yeah,
Hey, this business is already working. Here's my plan to make sure I don't screw this up. So
sure.
I think it's still important, but
Yeah, okay. I'll give you that. And for a listener that maybe this is your first exposure to ProjectionHub, I lead the custom business plan writing at ProjectionHub. So I think it's more just like a self-deprecating thing, probably, than it is what I actually think about business plans. But yeah, I like that. I think that hopefully there's some valuable information in there. We probably need to get into the weeds on, like, if you're listening to this and you're a startup and you're like concerned about one of those buckets we just talked about and like how to approach that. We've got other video content and stuff that helps with that. But hopefully that helps serve as like, I think, a roadmap of things you need to get in order of importance. Like, you're always going to have the business plan concept in your head. That's probably what starts it all. Like you have an idea of what you want to do, but I wouldn't worry about having that completely fleshed out in like a business plan or having your projections all like buttoned up or things like that until got a defensible credit score. You've got like some cash in the bank, like, we don't have to get into what that amount needs to be, but directly tied to how much you need to get from financing, or if you're trying to bootstrap it or something like that. But also the owner experience one, I think, is like something you got to sort out too, right? Like if you don't have direct experience in the industry or the type of business you're looking to start. Like I don't even know if I told you this. I talked to somebody last week about, potentially helping them out with a project, and they're trying to start it's basically like a Wingstop competitor. So, a Buffalo wing, small, fast casual, kind of like grab and go place. And I asked him like what his experience was. And he's like, he literally told me, he said, well, I know I want to do this. So I got a job at Wingstop 6 months ago. He's like, I didn't have experience in the industry before. He's like, but I was kind of over my old job and I knew this is what I wanted to do. So he's like, I went and I got a job and I've been working here for 6 months. And like, they offered me to be a manager. He's like, I don't know if I'm going to take that because I want to start my own thing. He's like, but I know how to prepare them and the staff that's needed and all the equipment and the sauces and the ingredients. Like he just like is on the inside, like learning the inner workings. And I'm like, that's amazing. I've like not talked to a lot of people that I think would have the patience. That's like a different form of hustle, right? Like, I know I'm not going to have enough experience. So I'm just literally going to go get a job at Wingstop and figure it out so that I can start one.
I have a quite similarly that, I think even took a crazier step. He wants to start a med spa and
he just went and got a bunch of Botox.
He dropped everything and went to nursing school for 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
So like he quit his job. He was selling equipment in the med spa industry. And then he just quit his job and went to nursing school and, so he could actually have a chance of doing it himself. So pretty cool.
Also as a forewarning to people out there considering applying for an SBA loan, I know I keep addressing you. I probably don't need to keep doing that. If you have a solid job that's relevant to the business you want to start and you're trying to get a loan, like don't quit the job. Like keep the job while you get it set up. I think what we're talking about is a different use case where it's like you want to start a thing and something you don't have experience in and you're really sure you want to do that. So then you went to go do what you needed to do to get that experience. That's a different, I think, thing that will be appreciated by a lender. But
yeah, for sure.
Just go check out our website, ProjectionHub.com. You can reach out to us directly at support@ProjectionHub.com and we'll help you kind of get started and figure out what you got to do next. All right. I'll see you in the next one.
Yep. Thanks.